Aliens moved silently through the dark halls of the Terran warship. Their armor was black, sharp, and strange, glowing with faint blue light. They had entered the ship with confidence. To them, humans were only noisy creatures, loud and weak, dangerous only in numbers. The aliens had studied many species before, and each one had broken under their weapons. They expected the same this time. They expected fear. They expected surrender. But the warship was quiet. Too quiet. The boarding team advanced, their claws tapping on the steel floor. Their breathing came slow through their helmets. The lights flickered above, only half working. Strange, a ship this size should have been alive with sound, engines, alarms, voices. Instead, it felt dead. Like a tomb. The alien leader raised his hand. His soldiers froze. There it was. Footsteps. Slow, heavy footsteps. The sound echoed along the long corridor. Someone was walking toward them. Alone. The soldiers raised their weapons. The leader growled in his own tongue. One human. Take him alive. We will make him speak. From the shadows at the far end of the corridor, a figure appeared. A human. He wore black armor with the Terran emblem on his chest. His helmet was off, and his eyes looked cold, sharp, unshaken. His face was calm, as if nothing surprised him. He held no weapon in his hands. The aliens aimed their rifles, waiting for the command. The leader stepped forward, confident. You are outnumbered. Surrender your vessel. Resist, and you will suffer. The human tilted his head, almost amused. He didn't answer right away. He just studied them, like a predator watching prey. Then he finally spoke, his voice steady, deep, and clear. You shouldn't have come here. The aliens laughed, a harsh, hissing sound inside their helmets. The leader gestured, and two soldiers rushed forward, claws ready to grab the human. It happened in less than a breath. The human moved like a shadow, faster than their eyes could follow. His hands struck with perfect precision. One alien's weapon fell to the floor, the second alien's armor cracked, his body slammed against the wall with bone-shaking force. Before the others even reacted, both attackers were on the ground, unmoving. The corridor fell silent again. The aliens stared in shock. This was no ordinary human. The leader growled louder, trying to hide his sudden fear. He barked orders, and all weapons fired at once. Bright plasma bolts lit the hallway, burning the air. But the human moved with impossible speed, weaving through the storm. He grabbed a fallen weapon and returned fire. Every shot found a target. Every movement was precise, ruthless. In seconds, half the boarding team was down. The survivors hesitated, their claws shaking on their triggers. This was wrong. This was not how it was supposed to be. Humans were not supposed to fight like this. The leader roared in fury, charging forward with a blade crackling with energy. He swung it down with all his strength. Sparks flew as the blade hit steel. But the human was already gone. The leader felt a crushing grip on his arm, then a brutal twist. Pain exploded through his body. The blade dropped. The human leaned close, whispering into the leader's helmet, his words calm and terrifying. You came here thinking we are weak. You came here thinking we are prey. But now you will see why no one should ever board a Terran warship. The leader tried to strike again, but the human's hand snapped his weapon in two like it was glass. The other aliens stood frozen, their courage draining away. They had never seen anything like this. Their strongest weapons meant nothing. Their numbers meant nothing. The human threw the leader against the wall with a sound of breaking metal. The armored body slid down, sparks flickering from the cracked helmet. Silence filled the corridor once more. The surviving aliens began to back away slowly, their eyes wide, their confidence shattered. They had entered this ship expecting victory. Now they only wanted escape. The human stood tall in the middle of the wreckage, calm as if nothing had happened. He picked up the Terran rifle from the floor, checked it with practiced hands, and looked at the survivors. You can run, he said coldly. "But you won't get far." And with those words, he stepped forward into the shadows of the ship. The aliens knew then, this warship was not a tomb. It was a hunting ground. And they had just walked into it. The alien survivors stumbled back through the corridors, dragging their wounded. Their armor clanged against the walls as they tried to retreat. Panic spread like fire among them. They had boarded ships before. They had conquered species across the stars. But never had they seen one human fight like this. They tried to call their command ship, but the comms were filled with static. No reply came. The silence from their fleet was worse than enemy fire. It felt wrong, unnatural. Something was blocking them. One alien hissed nervously, "It is only one human. He cannot fight us all." The others didn't answer. Deep inside, they no longer believed their own words. The warship felt alive, like it was watching them. Lights flickered overhead, doors opened and closed with heavy groans. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Every sound echoed like a threat. The aliens tightened their grips on their weapons, but their hands shook. Then came the sound again. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Echoing through the steel corridors. The aliens froze. The human was following them. Not rushing. Not running. Just walking. Steady. Relentless. The leader, injured but still breathing, forced himself up. His pride burned hotter than his pain. He barked orders, forcing his soldiers to hold the line. "We are hunters, not prey. Turn and fight." The aliens formed a defensive circle at the junction of the corridor. Rifles raised, blades glowing, they waited. The footsteps grew louder. From the shadows, the human appeared again. Calm. Controlled. His armor was scratched, his face marked with dust and smoke, but his eyes burned with cold fire. He held the Terran rifle with ease, as if it was an extension of himself. The leader screamed the command, and plasma fire filled the corridor once more. The air glowed with deadly light. The walls melted under the heat. But the human did not stop. He moved through the storm like water, every step exact, every turn perfect. Shots missed him by inches, but he never faltered. He returned fire with brutal accuracy. Every trigger pull dropped another alien. The circle broke within seconds. Soldiers screamed in their own tongue, some firing wildly, others throwing down their weapons and trying to flee. The leader fought with fury, charging at the human again with his crackling blade. This time he was faster, desperate, striking with all the strength left in his body. Sparks flew as steel clashed against the Terran rifle. The human blocked, turned, and twisted the weapon away. The leader roared, swinging again and again, but the human was already moving behind him. A brutal strike to the back of the helmet sent the alien crashing down. His blade slid across the floor, burning holes into the steel. The other soldiers saw their leader fall. Their courage collapsed with him. They broke. The survivors ran in all directions, their claws scraping against the floor, their voices high with fear. Some threw themselves into maintenance shafts. Others tried to force locked doors open. A few fired blindly into the dark, hoping to hit something, anything, that would save them. But the human didn't chase them immediately. He stood over the fallen leader, staring at him. The alien leader coughed inside his helmet, sparks flickering around him. His voice cracked with both pain and disbelief. "You are not human. No human fights like this." The human crouched beside him, his face unreadable. His voice was quiet, but every word cut like a blade. "This is a Terran warship. We are trained for war. We are trained to fight until the last breath. You thought we were weak. That was your first mistake." The leader's eyes widened in fear. The human leaned closer. "Your second mistake was stepping onto our ship." With one swift motion, the human ended the fight. The leader's body went still. The corridor fell silent once more. Only smoke and sparks remained. But the war was not over. Through the steel walls, distant alarms began to echo. More alien squads were boarding, unaware of what had happened to the first team. They thought the ship was theirs. They thought victory was easy. The human stood up slowly, his shadow stretching across the floor. He checked his weapon, reloaded it with calm precision, and started walking again. He spoke softly to himself, but his voice carried like steel through the silent ship. "Let them come." And with those words, he disappeared deeper into the warship, moving toward the next wave of invaders. For the aliens still alive, fear spread faster than orders. They had come to conquer. But now, they began to realize the truth. They were trapped inside with something far worse than they had expected. The Terran warship was not a prize. It was a graveyard waiting to be filled. The second alien squad entered the Terran warship with confidence. They had heard nothing from the first team, but that only meant the humans were hiding. To them, silence was weakness. Their commander assured them that humans were fragile, that their resistance would collapse once they saw real strength. The squad moved deeper into the ship, weapons raised. Their armor clattered softly as they advanced in formation. The corridors twisted and stretched ahead, filled with flickering lights and steam rising from broken pipes. The ship seemed alive, breathing. One alien muttered, "Where are the bodies? Where is the crew?" Another hissed back, "They are hiding. They always hide." But deep inside, unease grew. They expected resistance, alarms, heavy defenses. Instead, they walked through silence. Until they found the first sign. A scorched wall. The smell of plasma fire still thick in the air. Burn marks stretched across the floor. And then they saw the bodies, alien bodies. Broken, burned, their armor cracked like eggshells. The squad froze. These were their own soldiers. The first team. Every one of them dead. Their commander growled, forcing calm into his voice. They fought. That is all. The humans must have used traps. But no human bodies were there. Not even one. Suddenly, a sound cut through the silence. A heavy clang. Footsteps again. Slow. Steady. The squad raised their weapons. They aimed down the corridor. From the shadows, the same human appeared. He walked calmly, rifle in hand, his armor scratched but unbroken. His face showed no fear. Only cold focus. The commander stepped forward, his voice sharp. "You are one man. You cannot stop us. Surrender, and you may live." The human stopped walking. His eyes scanned the squad, counting every soldier, every weapon. Then he gave a small smile, but it was not warm. It was the smile of a predator who already knew the outcome. "I told the first group," he said quietly. "You shouldn't have come here." The aliens opened fire instantly. Plasma bolts lit the hallway, scorching the walls, filling the air with burning heat. The human moved with terrifying precision. He dropped behind a steel support, plasma fire sparking against it. He leaned out, fired 2 shots. 2 aliens fell. He moved again, vanishing into smoke and shadow. The squad tried to advance, shouting to each other, but the human was everywhere. His footsteps echoed, confusing them. One alien turned at a sound behind him, only to fall as a rifle but smashed into his helmet. Another soldier spun toward movement, but his shot hit only steam. Then he was dragged into the shadows, his scream cut short. Fear spread. Formation broke. The aliens fired wildly into the dark, hitting nothing. The commander roared in anger. "Stand together. Do not scatter." But his soldiers were already crumbling. Every few seconds, another one fell, struck down by precise fire, crushed against the wall, or simply silenced in the shadows. The human was not fighting like prey. He was hunting. The commander realized it too late. This was not war. This was slaughter. He tried to rally the survivors, pulling them back to a junction where they could regroup. But when they reached it, they found the path blocked. Steel doors had shut, locking them inside the corridor. The commander looked around. The ship was closing in on them. And then the human appeared again, walking calmly through the smoke. His rifle was steady. His steps echoed like a drumbeat of death. "You came here thinking we are weak," he said, his voice carrying in the silence. "But you are not the first to try. And you won't be the last." The commander roared, charging with his blade raised high. His soldiers followed, desperation burning in their eyes. The corridor became chaos. Plasma fire lit the walls, blades clashed, steel screamed. But the human moved with deadly rhythm. Every strike was perfect. Every shot found its mark. Aliens fell one by one, their bodies hitting the steel floor. The commander fought with fury, swinging his blade in wide arcs. Sparks flew as it struck the walls. But the human was faster. He sidestepped, countered, and struck. The blade fell to the ground, useless. The commander stumbled, his chest heaving. His squad was gone. Only smoke and silence remained. The human stepped close, raising his rifle. His eyes were cold, his voice like iron. "This is a Terran warship. You will not leave it alive." The commander tried to speak, but the rifle fired once. His body collapsed beside the others. The human stood alone again in the silent corridor, his breathing steady. He reloaded his weapon, scanning the shadows. More aliens were coming. He could hear them through the ship's metal belly. Heavy boots, clawed feet, voices shouting in their strange tongue. But he did not fear them. He welcomed them. Because this ship was his home. And every invader who stepped onto it would regret their mistake. The third wave of aliens stormed into the Terran warship. Their commander was larger than the rest, his armor heavier, his eyes burning with fury. He had seen the reports from his soldiers' helmet feeds before the signal went dead. The images haunted him, one human tearing through an entire squad like a storm. But he refused to believe it. It had to be tricks, traps, illusions. No single human could do what he had seen. "Spread out," he ordered, his voice echoing through the steel halls. "He cannot kill what he cannot find. Search every corner. Force him into the open." The soldiers obeyed, splitting into smaller groups. Their weapons hummed with power as they moved into the ship's twisted corridors. The warship groaned around them, metal shifting under unseen weight. The lights flickered. Steam hissed from vents. Every sound made the soldiers twitch. One alien whispered, "This place feels cursed." Another hissed back, "It is only steel and shadows. Do not fear it." But fear was already inside them. They moved deeper, and then the silence broke. A voice carried through the corridor. "Calm. Steady. Human. You shouldn't have split up." The soldiers froze. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, bouncing through the metal walls. The commander snarled, "Ignore him. Keep moving." But it was already too late. A scream echoed from the left flank. The sound of plasma fire followed, then silence. Another scream came from the right. The soldiers spun, weapons raised, but saw nothing. Only shadows. One soldier shouted, "He is behind us." He fired wildly, plasma bolts cutting through the smoke. But when the light cleared, no one was there. Then a body fell at their feet. One of their own, armor broken, helmet cracked open. The commander cursed, rage boiling in his chest. "Show yourself, human. Face me." The voice came again, closer this time. Cold. Sharp. "You think this is your hunt. But you are the prey." The soldiers tightened their grips on their rifles. Their hands shook. The commander forced them forward, his pride keeping him from retreat. "Forward. We crush him now." They advanced down the corridor, weapons blazing. Plasma bolts filled the hallway, burning the walls into molten scars. The noise was deafening. But through the smoke, the human appeared. He stepped out slowly, his armor dark and scratched, his rifle steady. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He simply fired. One shot. 2. 3. Each one perfect. Each one finding its mark. Aliens fell. The squad screamed and returned fire, but he was already gone, slipping into the shadows again. Their shots hit only steel. The commander roared, charging forward with his massive blade. Sparks flew as it scraped the walls. "Fight me, human. Face me with honor." The voice came again, closer, colder. "You don't deserve honor." The commander swung wildly, his blade cutting the air. Suddenly, the human was there, too fast to track. The rifle slammed into the commander's wrist, forcing the blade to drop. A kick followed, sending him crashing into the wall. The other aliens tried to rush the human, claws out, weapons ready. But he moved like a storm, striking with brutal precision. A rifle butt to the helmet. A blade stolen and turned against its owner. A plasma shot straight through a chest plate. The corridor became a slaughterhouse. Within minutes, only the commander remained, struggling to rise, blood leaking from cracks in his armor. He looked up at the human, fear finally breaking through his pride. "What are you?" he rasped. The human crouched beside him, eyes cold and merciless. "I am what you made me. I am Terran. And you just learned why no one boards our warships." The commander's eyes widened. He tried to speak, but the human raised his rifle and fired once. The sound echoed through the silent corridor. The human stood, reloaded, and looked around. Smoke drifted through the air. Bodies lay broken on the steel floor. But he wasn't done. Through the walls, heavy footsteps echoed again. More soldiers. More invaders. The warship was filling with them. The human whispered to himself, his voice calm, steady, unshaken. "Let them all come." He disappeared into the shadows once more, waiting for the next hunt. The corridors were littered with smoke and broken bodies. The Terran warship groaned like a living creature, its steel bones echoing with the sounds of battle. A fourth alien squad entered, their weapons ready, their nerves already frayed. They had heard nothing from the others. Only silence. Silence where victory should have been. Their commander was cautious. He raised his clawed hand, signaling his soldiers to hold formation. His eyes scanned the walls, the broken lights, the melted steel. Everything around him screamed of violence. One soldier whispered, "Something is wrong. This ship should be ours already." Another replied, "Maybe the humans destroyed themselves. Maybe they fight each other." The commander hissed, "No. Something else is here. Something strong. Do not underestimate them again." The squad moved slowly, every step heavy, every shadow dangerous. Then they found it. The bodies of the last squad. Shattered armor. Cracked helmets. No survivors. The soldiers froze, horror creeping through their spines. One alien muttered, voice shaking, "One human did this?" The commander's jaw clenched. He wanted to deny it, but the evidence was too clear. Every wound, every kill, was precise. Not random. Not desperate. Calculated. Before he could answer, the voice came. Calm. Cold. "Human. You're late. I've been waiting." The soldiers spun, weapons raised. But the voice echoed from every direction, impossible to locate. The commander growled, "Human. Show yourself." Silence followed. Then, footsteps. Slow. Heavy. The human stepped out from the shadows. His black armor was scarred but unbroken. His rifle steady. His eyes sharp, filled with quiet fury. The soldiers tensed, weapons aimed. But none fired yet. Something about the way he moved, the way he stared, it froze them in place. The commander forced himself to speak. "We know what you are. A soldier. A killer. But you are only one man. You cannot stop us all." The human's lips curved into the faintest smile, but there was no warmth in it. "One man is enough." The soldiers' hands shook on their rifles. One of them whispered in their tongue, "He's not human, he's a demon." The human tilted his head, as if he had heard. "No. just human. That's enough. The commander barked, trying to hold his squad together. Fire! The corridor exploded with plasma fire. The walls shook. Light burned the air. But the human moved before the first shot even struck. He vanished into smoke, his rifle answering with deadly precision. One alien fell. Then, another. Screams filled the hallway. The squad fired in every direction, but panic made their aim useless. The humans struck like lightning, silent, fast, merciless. The commander tried to rally them, shouting, "Hold your ground! Hold!" A shot cut him off, striking the wall near his head. The heat seared his face. He froze, realizing the human had spared him, deliberately. Then the voice came again, closer, sharper. "You should run." The soldiers broke. Fear overwhelmed training. Some dropped their weapons and fled. Others fired blindly as they backed away. The commander snarled in rage, but even he felt the icy grip of fear in his chest. One of his soldiers screamed, "This is no war. This is slaughter." The commander turned, grabbing him by the throat. "Silence!" But before he could finish, the soldier's body dropped with a hole burned through his chest. The human stepped out of the smoke again, his rifle steady, his eyes unblinking. He walked forward slowly, not rushing, not hiding. He didn't need to. The commander stared at him, his voice breaking. "Why? Why fight like this? You are only one man. You should have surrendered." The human stopped a few feet away. His voice was low, but every word struck like steel. "Because this is a Terran warship. And no Terran surrenders. Not while we still breathe." The commander's claws trembled on his weapon. He had fought countless battles across countless stars. But never had he faced fear like this. He realized then what the others had not understood. Humans were not weak. They were not prey. They were something worse. They were predators. The commander's courage broke. He dropped his weapon, falling to his knees. "Spare me," he whispered. The human looked down at him, eyes hard as stone. For a long moment, silence filled the corridor. Then the human spoke. "You came here to take lives. To conquer. To enslave. You don't deserve mercy." The commander's eyes widened. "No." The rifle fired. His body collapsed. The human stood alone again, the smoke clearing around him. His breathing was steady, his face unshaken. Through the walls, he could already hear the next wave coming. More claws. More boots. More invaders. He checked his rifle, reloaded, and whispered to himself, "Let's finish this." And then he vanished back into the shadows, the hunter waiting for new prey. The warship shook as another boarding wave entered. This one was larger, dozens of soldiers, armored and armed for heavy assault. They came with machines, drones buzzing in the air, scanners sweeping the corridors. Their commander had no patience for stealth. He wanted the human dead, crushed under overwhelming firepower. "Fan out," he ordered. "No mistakes this time. Hunt him. Burn him out." The soldiers spread like a flood through the steel arteries of the warship. Drones scanned every corner, sending beams of light across walls and shadows. The aliens moved with confidence again, bolstered by numbers and technology. But the ship was not theirs. The human was no longer waiting in the corridors. He was deeper now, in the control rooms, his hands moving across glowing panels. The warship systems were damaged, but not broken. He knew every wire, every circuit, every hidden passage. This ship was his home, his weapon. The aliens thought they were hunting him. But in truth, he was preparing the hunt. The commander's squad moved through a wide chamber, its ceiling high, its floor covered in pipes and machinery. The drones buzzed above, scanning for movement. One drone beeped. It had found heat signatures. The soldiers aimed their weapons at the far corner, only to see nothing but a leaking pipe. Then the alarms blared. Heavy steel doors slammed shut behind them, sealing the chamber. The lights flickered, then went out. Darkness swallowed the room. The soldiers shouted, firing blindly, their rifles lighting the chamber with bursts of plasma. But every shot hit only walls and machines. From the shadows, the human's voice carried through hidden speakers. Calm. Cold. Everywhere at once. You shouldn't have come. Panic rippled through the aliens. One shouted, "He controls the ship." The commander barked, "Silence. Stay sharp." But even his voice cracked under the weight of fear. The warship groaned, systems waking under the human's command. Vents opened, blasting steam that burned through armor joints. Machinery roared to life, gears grinding, pipes rattling. The floor vibrated beneath their feet. Then the traps triggered. Hidden panels in the walls slid open. Automated turrets unfolded, their barrels glowing. The first volley cut through the squad, plasma bolts tearing armor apart. Soldiers screamed, dropping where they stood. The survivors tried to return fire, but the turrets vanished back into the walls, hidden once again. The commander roared, "Destroy the systems. Burn everything." They fired into the walls, sparks flying, metal melting. But every time they thought they had silenced the ship, another section came alive. Doors sealed, locking soldiers into side corridors. Gravity shifted, pulling them off balance, slamming them into ceilings and walls. Drones turned against them, reprogrammed mid-battle, firing at their former masters. Chaos filled the chamber. And then, in the middle of it all, the human appeared. He stepped out of the steam, rifle in hand, his armor gleaming under the flickering lights. He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He walked forward with calm precision, every shot from his rifle dropping another soldier. The aliens screamed, firing everything they had, but the ship itself betrayed them. Doors closed, blocking their shots. Lights blinded their eyes. Turrets opened fire from the shadows. The commander tried to rally what was left of his squad. Fall back. Fall back. But there was nowhere to run. The doors were sealed. The chamber was a cage, and inside it, the predator walked free. The human moved like death itself, silent and unstoppable. One by one, the aliens fell. The floor became a graveyard of twisted armor and broken weapons. Finally, only the commander remained, his heavy armor cracked, his weapons smoking and nearly empty. He stumbled back, staring at the human in disbelief. This is impossible. One man cannot do this. The human stopped a few feet away, his rifle steady, his eyes cold. One man. One warship. That's all it takes. The commander shook his head, his pride breaking. You are monsters. The human's voice was steady, final. No. We are human. And you should have remembered why no one boards our ships. The rifle fired. The commander fell. The chamber fell silent, smoke drifting through the air, bodies scattered across the steel floor. The human stood in the center, calm, breathing slow. He looked at the control panel, checked the scanners. More life signs appeared. More soldiers boarding. But he didn't waver. He didn't fear. Instead, he whispered to himself, "Let them keep coming." And with that, he vanished back into the corridors, leaving the warship ready to claim more invaders. The alien flagship watched from orbit, its dark hull looming over the Terran warship. 4 hours, they had sent squads. 4 hours, silence had answered. No signals. No survivors. Only void. Their supreme commander decided enough was enough. He would go himself. He boarded with his elite guard, warriors larger, stronger, armored in steel that had never broken. Their weapons were ancient and powerful, passed down from conquests across countless stars. They were feared everywhere they went. But fear did not live on this ship. The warship's corridors were littered with smoke and bodies. The commander saw the destruction with his own eyes, squads torn apart, weapons shattered, doors melted. The smell of burned armor clung to the air. "This is not possible," one guard muttered, voice shaking. The commander silenced him with a glare. His pride was iron. He would not bend. We end this tonight. One human cannot defy us all. They advanced, their heavy boots pounding the steel. Drones scanned, blades hummed, rifles glowed. Their formation was perfect. Their courage steel, for now. Then the voice came. Calm. Cold. You're still here. The guards froze. The voice echoed through the corridors, through the walls, through the very ship. The commander shouted, "Show yourself, coward." The footsteps answered. Slow. Heavy. And then he appeared. The human. His armor was scarred, marked by battle. Smoke clung to him like a cloak. His rifle was steady, but his eyes burned like fire in the dark. The guards raised their weapons. The commander snarled, pointing his blade. Kill him. The corridor exploded with light. Plasma fire lit the steel, blades cut through the air. The human moved, swift and merciless. He fired, struck, vanished into steam, returned with precision. Guards fell, their armor split, their bodies broken. The commander fought forward, his ancient blade glowing with deadly energy. Sparks screamed as it struck the walls, tearing steel like cloth. He roared, his fury echoing. The human met him head-on. Rifle against blade. Steel against fire. The clash shook the corridor. Sparks flew. Shots cracked. The commander swung with brutal strength, but the human was faster, every movement sharp, exact. A strike to the arm. A shot to the leg. A kick that sent the massive alien stumbling back. The guards tried to surround him, but the ship itself turned against them. Doors slammed shut, locking them apart. Turrets unfolded, firing into their ranks. Gravity shifted, hurling them against walls. The warship was alive, fighting with its human. The commander's pride cracked as he realized the truth. This was not just a man. This was man and machine, soldier and warship, predator and hunting ground as one. He screamed in rage, charging again. His blade struck the floor, cutting deep. The human stepped aside, his rifle swinging up. The commander turned too late. A shot struck his chest, burning through armor. He staggered, roared, and swung again. The human caught the blade in his hands, twisted, and snapped it in half. Sparks burst as the ancient weapon died. The commander fell to his knees, armor cracked, blood spilling. His guards were gone. Only silence remained. He looked up, his voice broken. "What are you?" The human stood over him, calm, breathing steady, his rifle aimed. His voice was cold as steel. "I am Terran, and this ship is my home. You came here to conquer. Instead, you found your grave." The commander's eyes widened with the final truth. He tried to speak, but the rifle fired once. His body collapsed. The warship fell silent again. High above, on the alien flagship, officers watched as their supreme commander's signal went dark. No words. No orders. Only silence. Fear spread through their ranks. For the first time, their fleet hesitated. They had lost countless soldiers. Their leader was dead. And all because of one human, standing alone on a Terran warship. Whispers spread among them. Humans are not prey. Humans are death. The fleet pulled back. Engines roared. Ships vanished into the void, fleeing from the warship they had thought would be easy prey. Inside, the human stood in the quiet halls, surrounded by smoke and silence. He lowered his rifle, his eyes calm, his face unreadable. The warship groaned, alive but wounded. It had survived. He had survived. He whispered to himself, his voice low, steady, final. Let them remember. Let them fear. Humanity does not fall. And with that, he disappeared into the shadows of his warship, waiting for the next invader foolish enough to board. Because this was not the end. This was only the warning.